Hey guys, it's Justin. One question I get asked a lot is, how do I practice and for how long? So in this installment of 5-Minute Guides, I'll be going over what I have found to be the most efficient methods of practicing. I'll be describing my routine for when I only have 15 minutes to prepare, as well as when I have over a full hour to practice. Finally, I'll also include a couple tips if you even have more time than that. First, a couple disclaimers. This guide was made in respect to fixed oval series, but a lot of it's applicable for other disciplines as well. And also, this method is just what I have found works best for me. It may not be the best for you. You may need to adjust or even change some things completely to fit your style. With that being said, when I practice a brand new track, or a track I don't remember too well, these are the 5 steps that I use. Discover, copy, apply, analyze, and qualify. How I approach these steps varies on how much time I have, so let's start with the 15-minute practice. First, to discover the track, just run about 5 laps at your own pace to get a feel of the track. All we're looking for is that you don't hit the wall, you don't crash every single corner, not necessarily trying to find speed yet because we don't want to build bad habits without us knowing it. Next is copy. Kind of a weird one, right? But the big epiphany I had 2 years ago that allowed me to jump from 3K iRating to 6K iRating is that I realized that trying to figure everything out on my own was completely inefficient. When I started to actively try to copy faster drivers, my speed unsurprisingly increased. With the time constraints of a 15-minute practice, the best way to do this is just to watch a lap from the cockpit view of the fastest car in your practice session. Pay close attention to things like braking points, throttle points, and the line of their car. This method has some limitations since you can't know exactly what their throttle and brake are, and the steering wheel is not very easy to follow. But what you can see will still put you on the right track. Next, you want to apply this. So what you want to do is run a 10 to 20 lap run, attempting to mimic their line, and this should bring you all the way to the end of your time, or maybe you'll have a couple minutes left. If you have a couple minutes left, the next step is to analyze what you just did. So compare a couple laps that you did with the guy that you were looking at before and see if anything sticks out. Maybe you'll find that you're taking your approach a little too late, or that you're throttling a little too early mid-corner. You might not be able to reapply this, but this will be very good knowledge going into your race. And finally, qualifying. Qualifying should not be a priority for you if you only have 15 minutes. Maybe 1 or 2 attempts just to get a feel of you pushing your limits, but it should not eat into the prior more important steps. 10 minutes of qualifying practice will not put you above those who spent an hour on it already, so race pace in this case is much more valuable. So next let's look at what you do if you have a full hour to practice. Well, the discovery phase is going to be the exact same for both the 15 minutes and the hour, so let's skip right to copy. With more time to prepare, we can now dig into YouTube and Twitch VODs to learn from. There are endless resources to find fast drivers with fast lines to copy. YouTube channels like Kneebon and Griffin2448 will most likely have a video out of what you want to run, and plenty speed for you to copy. With their videos, you can even see their exact inputs. If you want to learn from the best of the best though, I recommend going to the Twitch channel Justice and searching his VODs for the race you want to run in. Copying Justice is how I personally came to understand several car and track combos. I'll leave all of their links in the description. Now it's time to apply what you learned. I like to do this with at least a 30-lap run, but ideally a full race run if possible. Make sure to check your tire wear after your race run and don't do things like spin out after you're done so that you change the numbers. And then you can brainstorm changes that you can make if you're not happy with the tire wear that you put on the car during that run. You can do this in a test session, or you can do this in your own practice with nobody to bother you. It's surprising how few people know this, but if you go to Entries and the tab on the top left, there's actually a drop-down menu that you can choose your own track state and get away from everybody else. There's 16 whole track states that you can choose from, and 99.9999% of the time, there will always be one open. Next, analyze your laps with the VOD that you've been looking at and see if there's any differences. I like to do this by putting them side by side on my screen and getting them to play at the same time, but if you play them back to back, that can pretty much do the trick too. Depending on how much time you have left, you can reapply these changes into another shorter run, maybe about 15 laps or so. Another way to analyze your laps is by comparing them against a previous race's laps. This is really easy for ARCA since there are no cautions, but for A, B, and C, try finding a race with as few cautions as possible and around your strength of field. Then, just go to the leader, check their laps and just look at your laps side by side with theirs. See where you're gaining time, see what laps you're losing time, and brainstorm why you would lose time around these laps. Are you wearing your tires too quickly in the first 10 laps so you're falling off? Or are you giving up too much time in the first 10 laps and gradually gaining it back later? And finally, with all the time you have left, you can finally work on qualifying. It's still the least important part of the practice process, but with this leftover time, you might as well try to get the best starting spot as possible. Try to find a guide on qualifying. Maybe there's a guy out there who makes ARCA qualifying guides weekly. But anyways, what if you have more time? What next is there to work on? Well, you could always work on more qualifying, but the returns will always diminish with the more time you give to them. I always find that about after 30 to 45 minutes of just practicing qualifying, I've hit a wall. There's nowhere else to go. I have to either take a break or give up completely. If you are still not confident enough in the track to run a race, you can always run a ghost race. You can do this by spectating the race, and you'll be able to drive along with them. But as long as you're not going to be a hazard out there, I always recommend just running the race. The best practice that you can get for a race is by running a race. There's always going to be another one in the next hour or two. Thanks for watching, guys. If you found this video helpful, feel free to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll be posting more videos like this on a semi-regular basis, along with my regular qualifying guide videos. As always, if you have any questions, you can leave a comment below, or you can add me on Discord. I don't have any other social media, but I always love to hear from you guys. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you on the next one.